Hello everyone, welcome to the TheGeoecologist. I am Dr. Krishnanand and you have been watching my videos on geography and several other topics related to environment. In this session, we are going to learn about a very interesting theory called Episodic Erosion Model of Landform Development. So before this lecture, we have learned a lot about landform development models right from Davis to Mary Morisawa. Almost 100 years of work we have learned. This is again one of the addition to all the sets of theories related to the landforms development called Episodic Erosion Model. Now the word itself is episode. Right? So the word episode is talking about periodicity in the changes of landforms, right? So this theory was given or propounded by Stanley Schumm. So Schumm's model is one of the top 10 cited theories in the world in relation to the erosional models of landform development. So let's learn about Schumm's model, that what he says about episodic erosion and how it is related to landforms development. But before we go ahead, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and also do share the videos with others as well. So now let's learn about this episodic erosion model of landform development by Stanley A. Schumm. So he is a great geomorphologist and especially fluvial geomorphologist. So if you look here, the fluvial system, his book in 1977 is of great importance and also among top 10 cited complete volumes in geomorphology. So it's very important that we learn Schumm's work. So Schumms theory is based on episodic erosion model. The word itself is episodic. So he stated what? He said that denudation is not gradual, it's not evolutionary, stepwise. Rather, it is what? It is episodic. It is not continuous. So all the continuous models that you see, that is gradual coming from upliftment to base level, he argued against it, right? So he said it's not gradual development or continuous development that happens in landforms. It's rather episodic in nature. Right? So the geomorphic history of landscape development, according to Schumm, if you see, has numerous periods of rapid erosion or instability, you can say, as well as deposition. So what is this? It is talking about periodicity of erosion. That's important. Now, period of rapid erosion is followed by long period of deposition. So, if something happens in erosional sector, definitely it will go somewhere and deposit. So, there is a relationship between erosion and deposition. So, if you see rapid erosion happening, definitely it is going to be followed by rapid or a long period of deposition as well. That is his premise of the work. So, this is repetition of periods of erosion and deposition, and thus there is complexity in the evolution. Now, remember, in geomorphology, what is more common? Complexity is more common than simplicity, as we have learned in the previous lectures. So this complexity is contributed by these episodes, and these episodes are not continuous. They are haphazard, they are random. That's the whole idea behind this episodic erosion model, that there are certain episodes, certain ways of repetition of these erosional cycles. Right? It does not happen continuously. That's important in his model. So now let's elaborate further. So further, if you see, according to Schumm's model, no progressive change in the level of valley floor and gradient through geological long time. Now he completely negates the time dependent model. So this is time independent model, right? It's from the other segment. So what you see, the minor details in the landforms cannot be explained on the basis of division model of cycle of erosion. So what he does, he criticizes division model of cycle of erosion, like many others as well. So Schumm's model is related to evolutionary concept involving two basic concepts. Now what are these two basic concepts? One is the concept of geomorphic threshold. This is one word, one phrase that you remember, geomorphic threshold. And the second is concept of complex response. Now these two words are important. If you understand these two concepts, you understand what is the Schumm's model saying, right? So geomorphic threshold is one important point. Let's elaborate. So if you want to elaborate this, you have to definitely quote our great Professor Savindra Singh. So our great Professor Savindra Singh, in his work, says what is the clarity on geomorphic threshold as well as complex response. So in the works of our respected Professor Savindra Singh, what he writes on Schumm's model, what? The Schumm's concept of geomorphic threshold suggests that changes may occur in fluvial system, that is river system, river landforms, fluvial landforms, but these changes are not occasioned by external factors, rather isostatic upliftment, like these factors that we have learned, it's not triggered by that, or it's not, occasioned by that. So then what it is occasioned by? It is rather affected by inherent geomorphic controls of eroding fluvial system itself, right, in the drainage basin. It means it's saying it's not dependent too much on what you have learned about the tectono models or other models of evolution. Rather, it's the fluvial system in itself that keeps evolving in episodes. Right? So that's important. In a drainage basin, you can observe it. So according to the concept of complex response, right, when a fluvial system is rejuvenated, or we can say that it again attains the previous phase because of the changes. So what happens? The response of the fluvial system to rejuvenation is not only renewed accelerated rate of valley, it means again there is an accelerated rate of valley deepening, but the response in the form of attainment of new equilibrium as well. So then valley attains a new equilibrium, right? Remember the model of JT Hack as well. So very similarly, it is dynamically placed, right? The equilibriums keep changing, right? So it may be stated that equilibrium is disturbed due to rejuvenation. This is one statement to remember here in Schumm's work, according to our professor Savindra Singh. What he explains the Schumm's work and the complex response. So this response is what? If you observe, it's a complex response. It's not a uniform response. It keeps changing, rejuvenation and also disturbances, right? So equilibriums fluctuate in the drainage basin itself, in the fluvial system itself, right? That's important. So the main goal of Schumm's model is what? Let's understand this. So it is to explain minor details. Remember, not major landforms, rather minor landforms. So scale factor is important here if you want to learn Schumm's work. It's talking about minor landform features like stepped valley floor. So, can you explain stepped valley floor without explaining these particular changes in the valley system itself, in the drainage system itself? No. So, that's why these minor features can be explained only by these episodic transformations, right? So, that is what the Schumm's work is important for. So, it is the channel gradient, remember, and the valley floor changes. That's why we see these changes in the stepped valley floors, right? So, what you observe in the statement, that main goal of Schumm's model is to explain minor details of landforms in the channel gradient and valley floor during the fluctuation of the fluvial system on the basis of the concept of thresholds, geomorphic thresholds and complex response that involves the dynamic equilibrium model itself. So what you observe, this theory is again from the other segment, non-division cycle, right? Non-cyclic model, non-time dependent model. It's rather a dynamic equilibrium influenced model for fluvial systems specifically. So again, more important point in this is that R.W. Lichty and Schumm together worked on this in 1965 and first attempted to dispel these controversies that are there regarding the models of landscape development propounded by Davis, Penck, Hack, all of them. On what? On the basis of different time spans of landscape development, right? So for Davis, it's cyclic time. For Penck, it's graded time. For JT Hack, it's steady state time. So if you observe, they worked clearly on what has been emphasized in the earlier work. That's why Schumm's work becomes very important, because it tries to analyze the previous works in clear-cut time framework. So you see cyclic time evolution, continuous evolution, the division model, right? Then comes the graded time. It was kind of time-independent model in Penck's work and Elsie King's work, if you observe. So that gradation happens, right? Rather, Elsie King's work was more close to the division model itself, right? So gradation happened, and then finally comes the equilibrium theory of JT Hack, where you say steady state system, right? Dynamic equilibrium influencing it. In Mary Morisawa's work as well we have observed. So Morisawa, although combined the works of every other scholar from both the sides, from evolutionary change as well, from dynamic work as well. Both of them was combined in Mary Morisawa's work, but Schumm tries to analyze this gradation of time in each work, right? So that is the main goal of Schumm's work. That's important to understand, right? Now, if you observe Schumm's work, it maintains that divide summits. Now remember, divide summits are those summits which divide the complete drainage basins into two parts. So they undergo moderate changes because of limited down wasting caused by surface runoff, right? So this is a divide. They have very limited, erosional factors or down wasting that happens in the lowering of summits, right? So what you observe here in this particular image is how he explained. So you observe the first image, then image B, then image C. This is how he has explained the minor feature creations. The stepped pattern of valley floors, if you can observe here, this is what he talked about in a particular instance, right? In a particular moment. So the form of valley floor becomes stepped because of reduction in valley floor, but for shorter duration. So these short phases, short episodes, that's where episodic model comes to the picture here. So the portion indicated by VF1 represents abnormal pattern of valley floor. Now remember, VF1 is here, abnormal pattern of valley floor. It keeps changing, you see, this upliftment happens, erosion happens, and this keeps changing in the valley floor. So there is a change in VF1 if you observe here, right? So this is abnormal according to a river channel morphology, but when observed minutely at a smaller spatial scale, it fits this episodic model, right? So normally this stepped form of valley floor is explained in terms of influences of external variables. Generally, we tend to explain all these valley floors changes, stepped profile, in terms of upliftment, subsidence, climate changes, etc. But Schumms model tries to explain it differently in a fluvial system. So stepped floor is not of external variables, rather it is because of control of internal variables of the fluvial system itself. This is the main line of thought here in Schumm's work, that it is not dependent upon the externalities, rather it is the fluvial system itself that keeps fluctuating and creating this step profile in the long course of a river, if you can observe. Right? So this is why it's a fluvial system work of Schumm, right? So Schumm has also postulated the concept of several sub-cycles within a larger fluvial cycle. Now this is important to remember if you are learning Schumm's work, that within a larger fluvial cycle, if you want, coming from Davis, this is not a complete explanation, that's what he says. He says within a larger cycle, you have several sub-cycles, small fragmented cycles, episodes. Right? So within the second order cycles, third order cycles are initiated when geomorphic thresholds in the fluvial systems are exceeded. So you have continuous changes, right? So that is where you have periodicity. So fourth order cycles are initiated due to complex geomorphic responses, which are resultant of changes in any one of the variables even in the fluvial system. So what are the variables? Any one variable can change it, even tectonic event, isostatic adjustment, upliftment subsidence, climate change, geomorphic threshold. So it can keep creating these episodes, right? But it is inherent to a fluvial system that it will keep changing, it will keep evolving, right? It will be dynamic in nature. So the fourth order cycles of smaller magnitude are initiated as a resultant of adjustment, right? So that is what the work is here, that keeps changing. Now what is this first order, second order, fourth order? If you have learned in the previous diagram, the initial, then the next one, then the next one, then the next one. These are the different orders of the same particular profile or drainage basin that keeps changing. So if you understand these different orders are made, how they are made in different episodes within a larger cycle, these sub-cycles are made. So final or fifth order cycles are initiated due to seasonality of hydrological events or large floods. Right? So many times if you have observed, river valley or channels keep changing their width as well as their depth and their structure, their profiles, only during high floods as well or large hydrological events as well. So that is the fifth order if you observe. So there is an order if you observe. Initially they are dominated in the first, you see in the beginning they are dominated by these tectonic events or isostatic adjustment, and then gradually they keep changing in themselves in the smaller factors and smaller episodes according to Schumm, right? So that's the important point in this model. Now, let's evaluate this model. So, Schumm's model of landform development is, in fact, modified form of division model that we have already seen here of geographical cycle, because this is also fluvial event as well, right? So, it's talking about progressive changes in landforms through time, the division model, which was kind of contradicted and reworked by Schumm, right? So Schumm has successfully attempted to remove the major drawbacks of Davis cycle, that is decay model, basically. That landform is decaying and going gradually to the base level, right? So he tries to blend the cyclic model with equilibrium model, just like Mary Morisawa as well. So he has also attempted to explain minor landscape features that we have seen, the step profile in the river, right? So according to Professor Savindra Singh, if you see this evaluation in one statement, what we can observe, the concept of numerous subcycles within a major, or you can say a super cycle in a fluvial system, is difficult to digest, right? It seems very complex, That is according to Professor Savindra Singh. But efforts of S.A. Schum is definitely commendable. So we can see that this effort to actually locate these particular smaller features in different episodes of their formation within a drainage system is of great importance definitely in geomorphology. But obviously more work has to be done to actually conclude with greater efficacy. So that's important to understand in this Schumm's work of episodic erosion model of landform development. So now, when we have learned about the episodic erosion model of Schumm, in the sessions to come, we'll be talking more on different aspects of geomorphology, human geography, and several other aspects of geography. So stay tuned, stay safe, keep watching, and keep sharing the videos with others as well.